Welcome to AG's Ace. The topic is racism in cricket. It's nothing new. It's been there for a long time. Might also continue to be there. It depends on how it is handled. Currently, England pacer Ollie Robinson, as you very well know, has been suspended for a while. At least he won't play the next test match till the England Cricket Board sorts out the matter because of some old tweets that have surfaced when he was 18 and 19 years old, which they found to be clearly sexist and racist. Of course, Ollie Robinson has profusely apologized, but that's another matter. Let's go through not only the issue, but the way people are reacting to it. It's the way the good stand that ECB has taken, but the way Boris Johnson and some of his friends have begun to react, that's creating quite a buzz now. So the ECB has been accused of going over the top in its punishment of Ollie Robinson by a UK government minister, Oliver Dowden, the Secretary of State for Digital, Culture, Media and Sport, DCMS as they call it. He's called on the ECB to think again after it suspended Robinson from international cricket pending a disciplinary investigation into tweets he made in 2012 and 2013. Comments which were later supported by none other than Prime Minister Boris Johnson. So this matter has assumed serious political overtones. And by the way, Mr. Oliver Dowden is a highly influential minister. So what he is saying and the kind of impact that he can have on cricket and in sport in the UK will be quite serious. So netizens, before I move into the Robinson issue, let's take a look at this. Netizens have dug up an old tweet from England pacer Jimmy Anderson, where he passed an unsavory remark against fellow teammates Stuart Broad. And this happened as recently as February 2010, barely 10 or 11 years ago. Jimmy Anderson said, within quotes, "I saw Brody's new haircut for the first time today. Not sure about it. Thought he looked like a 15-year-old lesbian." Fantastic comment from Mr. Jimmy Anderson. It shows the complete insensitivity towards not only his friend and teammate, but also to the entire LGBT community. He says that he looks like a 15-year-old lesbian, and he puts it on Twitter. Anderson, who's easily a legend of the game and has played over 160 tests for England so far, taken over 600 wickets. Now he says that the players were trying to learn from the situation. For me, it's 10 to 11 years ago. So what difference does it make if it's 10 to 11 years ago? You are in your late 30s, hitting 40. And if it's 10 years ago, so you weren't exactly a teenager, Mr. Anderson. So, but anyway, let's go back to the quote. For me, it's 10 to 11 years ago. I've certainly changed as a person. And I think that's the difficulty. Things do change. You do make mistakes, he said. If there are any tweets from years ago, we do have to look at that and again learn from this and be better in the future. Try and make sure we know it's unacceptable to use these sorts of phrases and languages. The Daily Mail UK quoted him as saying. Now, here's another issue which has come up, and this is none other than the ODI skipper, Eoin Morgan, along with Jos Buttler. They've been accused of a much more serious offense. Tweets from their accounts from 2017, barely 4 years ago, have emerged where the two, along with Brendan McCullum, can be seen making snide remarks on the way Indians speak English. Excuse me. Screen grabs of Jos Buttler saying, within quotes, "Well done on double 100, much beauty batting, you are on fire, sir," to Alex Hales from August 2017 have emerged. The mocking has been carried on between Morgan and Brendan McCullum to Buttler in May 2018, which is barely 3 years ago, with the skipper saying, "Sir, you're my favorite batsman," and McCullum adding, "Sir, you play very good opening batting. Please remember, these three gentlemen make hell of a lot of money from the IPL. They play in India for extended periods of time. Possibly the kind of money they make from IPL is so huge that it takes care of their pension worries. And look at the lousy, shitty attitude that they have towards Indians, and they don't spare even a second mocking the Indian accent or whatever you may call it. So it just shows that and by the way, Eoin Morgan is also the captain of one of the IPL teams. So the IPL and their owners should seriously look at these three gentlemen. And Baz McCullum, of course, is now a prominent coach. So their future should be evaluated here instead of constantly being punched in the face by such people. Now, the tweets, going back to Ollie Robinson, he tweeted this when he was aged 18 and 19, and it did contain both racist and sexist comments. Now, Dowden, as I had said, accepted that the tweets were offensive and wrong. He urged the ECB to reconsider its course of action, clearly saying that, oh, well, he was a kid, and I give him a break, forget about it, move on. That's what he's trying to say. So he does say that Ollie Robinson's tweets were offensive and wrong. They are also a decade old and written by a teenager. The teenager is now a man and has rightly apologized. The Prime Minister was also supportive of the comments of Dowden, but the ECB has so far declined to comment on Dowden's remarks. But please remember that Dowden's intervention is very relevant. The ECB has been obliged to work very closely with DCMS over the last couple of years and was reliant upon its acquiescence for ensuring international cricket was played in England in 2020. It is Dowden who also used his clout to ensure that the larger crowds were allowed into test venues. So what he says and what he does has a profound impact. Now, good old Nasir Hussain, who is such a terrific commentator and such a sound mind, did say, if we accept society can and needs to change, don't we need to accept that the individuals who make up that society can also change? You suspect real change comes from management and enlightenment. Punishment may just create more animosity. That's Nasir Hussain's comment. So he is basically saying, let's move on. Give the guy a break, who was 27 years old, by the way. So currently, Robinson is unavailable for selection for the second test against New Zealand, which is starting at Edgbaston. He's also issued an apology after admitting to posting racist and sexist comments on Twitter as a teenager. The fact is, and this has emerged, that Ollie Robinson left school without meaningful qualifications and had a period where he struggled for maturity and equilibrium. That cost him his contract at Yorkshire. He now plays for Sussex. He has to some extent already turned his life around, obviously, since he's qualified for playing for England. So he has managed to turn his life around through his sport. But has he turned his life around in his own head? That is the big question. Now, this is another delight for your consumption. Who is Ollie Robinson's replacement? It is Craig Overton. Now, he was suspended from a couple of games after an incident towards the end of the 2015 season in which he was alleged to have told Ashar Zaidi, a Pakistan-born all-rounder, to, within quotes, F off, go back to your own country. Need I say anything more? Now, people will make all sorts of comments against us Asians. It has to be nipped in the bud. To talk about Asians like that in such a context or make other comments reflects on the upbringing. That is what Farooq Engineer has said, who has settled down in the UK for many, many years. And Farooq Engineer wants ECB to take a very strong stand, and he is very dismayed by the stand taken by Boris Johnson. Where my take is concerned, a couple of quick points. I feel that the ECB's current method, a suspension, while deciding on the next step, seems pretty good to me. It not only allows time for rehabilitation, it is not a knee-jerk reaction. So I think that's pretty good. Does it really benefit anyone to punish someone for something they did as a child? Don't we have to make allowance for youth and foolishness? So that is, those are the comments being made by quite a few people who are saying that, possibly these guys need to be cut some slack. There is another solution which is being discussed in cricketing circles, and I sort of agree with it, which is that possibly allow an amnesty. That would see the game accept that it has failed to be as inclusive as it should have been and resolve to be better. It would end the current obsession with historic tweets, for example, instigate a moratorium on further disciplinary action. But it would also clearly outline the modern day expectations and penalties. It would provide a fresh start for a lot of people. Looking at the way the reactions are pouring in, looking at the way Michael Holding, the legendary Michael Holding, not only has written his book, but the way he backed the Black Lives Matter campaign, this has been prevalent for many, many years. Many people have suffered for it, continue to suffer. So how do you make a fresh start? Do you allow an amnesty? It is, of course, a matter of debate, but currently there is too much of oscillation between what kind of penalties will be inflicted and what is the sort of attitude that the cricket bodies should have towards players. And last but not the least, this again may not be a perfect solution. But it was also pointed out that as a white middle-class male, there are many people who, and these reports have come in, that who do not have decent educational backgrounds, who, like it was mentioned in the case of Ollie Robinson, who come from a different strata of society, which is typically their problem in the UK. But to take it out on Asians, to have a go on racist lines, to sound sexist at the LGBT community is completely not cricket. It should be completely obliterated. All the bodies under the ICC should do a very serious rethink, should evaluate this properly and try and make a fresh start, if not move in for complete obliteration. That is my considered view. Thanks for watching AG's Ace. We'll be back with more.